Hello everyone, it's Kristie here from KP Creatives with another video for Two Scrapbook Friends. Today I am using the Hoppy Days stamp and die set from Tailored Expressions to make a really fun card that is going to look like a flight of different beers. So I think it's a pretty fun card. I've been inspired by so many of the ideas that have been posted online using this set, including Christina's and her videos that she has done. So if you haven't watched those, please take a look at those as well. Unfortunately, I can't get my printer to work today. So we've got an old-fashioned handwritten list here of everything that is included in this video today. I'll pop this up again at the end so you can take a look at the supplies we are using today. So let's get into it. As I mentioned, we're going to be using this Get Hoppy set from Tailored Expressions. When you buy the full set, it comes with a set of acrylic stamps, it comes with a set of dies, as well as a set of foam mounted stamps. So we are going to be using something from each of these three pieces today as we work on our project. We're also going to be using dies from Gina K Designs Master Layouts 3 set. We're going to use these two banner dies. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Gina K Designs Master Layouts dies, I really recommend taking a look at them. They are great all-purpose dies, great for card making, scrapbooking, any type of crafty project. You can see the circles here. You could even use those for stickers or, name badges, anything that you like. The creativity is really endless with these sets. So really great all-purpose ones to have in your collection. We're then going to use a die set from Your Next Die or Your Next Stamp. So this is the mini slimline die set, and I've cut a piece out of craft paper out of the second biggest one, and that is going to fit really nicely framed onto our mini slimline card. So to do a mini slimline, all I did was cut a piece of the Nina Solar White Classic Crest 110-pound weight cardstock to 6 inches by 6 inches. I scored it along the middle at 3 inches and folded it. So there we have our mini slimline, and you can see this is going to fit right on top of it with a nice 1/8 of an inch border around the edges. So I'm going to set that aside and we will come back to it as we progress through our project today. I'm then going to be using some Distress Oxides. And again, we're going to want to make these beer glasses look like a flight of beer. So the set of Distress Oxides I'm going to be using today are Scattered Straw, Mustard Seed, Wild Honey, Fossilized Amber, and Aged Mahogany for all the stout lovers in our lives. So that'll be the set of oxides that we're using. I've also got some of the Pink Fresh Studio Detail Black ink, and that's what we're going to use for our outlines. Now, one new tool at Two Scrapbook Friends is the Maker Forte Smusher tool. So this is a really great tool to use with your MISTI or your stamp positioner tool, and you are going to see that in action in this video today. The other tools we have are our standards, die cut machine, MISTI, paper trimmer, and some adhesives. So I'll talk about those as we get through our project today. So first thing I want to do is show you how I like to make sure when I'm using die cuts and I'm stamping the die cut image, sometimes it's difficult to figure out, okay, how do I get a perfect, outline around the die cut image, and it can be really tricky. So I'm going to show you the process that I like that has worked really well for me over the years. So what I like to do, and sorry, just a reminder, this is a foam cling stamp. So I have taken out the foam insert into my MISTI, and I've just got one of the paper pads here. So I'm going to take one of the beer steins from the Hoppy Days set from Tailored Expressions. I'm going to put it not in any specific place in my MISTI, just going to pop it down there. And I'm going to pick it up with the door of the MISTI. And I'm just going to give myself a little room here, even though, this Tim Holtz media mat gives us a little bit of raised room on our craft table. I still end up, getting myself working on just a tiny little space. I think a lot of us do that. So I'm confident I'm in good company with you guys. So I'm going to ink this up with the Detail Black ink from Pink Fresh. And grab the Misty, pop this down, and here's the smusher tool. Gives you really great even pressure with your stamps. And there is my first impression for this project. So now that's just on the standard Misty grid paper. So, you know, nothing thrilling there. But, you know, what it allows me to do is take a template. So I used my die cut machine to cut out using the metal dies that come with this Hoppy Days set. And now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this template, and I'm going to put it right around that stamped image with equal space around all the edges. So I'm just going to place this around. I'm actually going to turn the Misty a little bit so I can see it better. So again, I'm just making sure that I'm getting this template right around all even edges around the image, and just press that right down. So now what you can do, saves a lot of time, is pop your die cut images. So I cut these out using my Big Shot. You can use your Gemini Junior, Cuttlebug, whatever die cutting tool you have. Take your die cut image, pop it in just like a puzzle, pop it right in there. We're gonna ink up our stamp again, getting some of that nice crisp black ink. Make sure that's right where we want it to be, and press. Gonna lift that up, and you can see you get a great image stamped on your die cut. So you don't, it really takes the worrying out of, oh, am I going to get it perfectly stamped? Am I going to get it in the right spot? You do not have to worry. So I'm going to do that one more time so you can see it. So again, you pop in the die cut image right into the space. Sometimes it pops up a little bit like you can see there, but it's fine. You just keep going with your process. When you stamp it down, everything will be okay. Ink that up. Close the Misty door, give it a nice press with the smusher, and there we go. So again, great stamping with that little trick. So it does save time. So if that's something that you've struggled with, of you die cut images and you're not sure how to get great placement, it's something that I have found works really well for me over the years. So I'm actually going to do the same thing, since we've got the Misty out and we've got the foam insert out also, with our sentiment. So I have a template already cut out with the space for the banner dies from the Gina K Design set. So what we're going to do is bring in this sentiment. Sorry, my banner dies are getting caught on my Misty magnet. So I just need to get that out of my hands for a second. So the sentiment that we're going to be using is, again, from this Hoppy Day set, and I'm going to use the I Love Crafts sentiment. I have some crafty friends that are also are beer lovers, so I thought this would be a fun greeting for them. So I'm going to make sure I'll have enough room for the template, and I will if I put it in this spot here. So close the door of the Misty, pick that second one up. We're gonna ink it up. Close the door of the Misty, give it a nice smush. And we can see where that is stamped. Gonna put some adhesive on the back of the template. You don't have to use adhesive on the template if you don't want to. You can try and use the magnet for your Misty. I just really like the security of having that adhesive down. It works really well. And you can just use scrap paper for your templates. You don't have to use anything fancy. So it really is a nice way to take a lot of the guesswork out of your crafting, especially with sentiments like this one. So I'm gonna put that down. And then we have some of the banner dies already cut out of the Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. I'm gonna pop in. You know what? I moved the paper a little bit in the base of the Misty. So I am just going to get that right back to where I think it was, and I'm gonna ink it up again with the stamp just so that I know I've got it in the right spot. So let's see. Oh, that looks great. Okay, so we'll pop in that banner. Sorry about that. I just felt the base paper move a little bit, so I wanted to be sure. Okay, so we've got our banner popped in there. Ink up the stamp. Close the door. Give it a smush. And there you have a great sentiment, centered, and you didn't have to do it 5 million times to get it right where you wanted on the banner. So again, using those templates, give it a try. I'd love to know how it works for you and if you found that it's something that is helpful within your crafty workflow. So I'm just gonna bring in my stamp chamois and give these a quick wipe and set them off to dry, off to the side. And we're gonna get ready to build our flight of beers. And to do that, we're going to use the acrylic stamp set that came with the Hoppy Days set. And it comes with the inserts for the beer glasses. So the one we used matches this little set here. So I'm going to just reset my Misty with the foam piece because we need that using the acrylic pieces or the acrylic stamps. Got our magnet down, and I'm just gonna turn the Misty again so that I can see a little bit closer to get this lined up on our template. That looks pretty good. We'll do a quick test to make sure and see how we did with our placement. So I'm gonna start with Scattered Straw, Distress Oxide. If you have not stamped with Distress Oxides and it's something new that you're going to try, you are in for a treat. They stamp so wonderfully, and it's a really great impression that you get almost every single time right away. So I can see that I'm a little bit low with the inside stamp set. So I'm just going to adjust a little bit, get my paper a little bit further down. And to see if I'm in the right spot, if I stamp it in the Scattered Straw again, I'm not going to be able to tell. So I'm going to bring in the darkest color, the Aged Mahogany. Just giving the stamp a quick wipe here first. Let's give it a stamp in the Aged Mahogany and see if we've got a little bit better placement, because I think I just had it a little bit off that time. And that looks great. So we're gonna go with that. I'm gonna start with the Aged Mahogany and we'll work our way through the rest. So bringing in our stamped die cut image again, I'm gonna pop that right into the template, ink up our stamp, nice and juicy, close the door of the Misty, give it a nice smush, and there we go. It looks pretty good, but just for a better, more full coverage impression, I'm going to ink it up one more time. Close the door. And there we go. So if you have stout lovers in your life, they're gonna love this one in the flight. That's gonna be their favorite. Okay, so since we've done the darkest one, let's move to the actual beginning of the flight, which is Scattered Straw again. So we'll pop the beer stein in our template, give the stamp a wipe, and get it nicely inked up with the Scattered Straw. These Distress Oxides, they do take a little bit longer to dry, so just keep that in mind. as you're stamping with them. They take a little bit longer to dry than your normal dye inks, so you don't want to touch them right away. So just something to keep in mind as you're working on your projects. So this, you can see this beer stein, it's fine when we're stamping, it stays in place, but once we've stamped, it moves a little. If you wanted, you could put some removable adhesive on the back, like a dot runner sometimes would be perfect, just to hold that in place if it bothers you that it's flipping around a little bit. I'm gonna ink that up one more time so we get some great coverage. Bring in this smusher tool. And there we have our scattered straw. And this is getting a little stuck in there in that template, so I'm just gonna bring in my tweezers and pop that out. So these are really fun. You can see you could do any type of color beverage. You could do a rainbow. You could do all kinds of things. But I think it's pretty fun to have this as a flight that will go in a card for somebody. So I did a bunch of the stamping off camera so that I think you guys can see the process there. So just as I'm getting this out of the way, just give that stamp a wipe. And we are finished right now with the Misty. So now what we can do is bring in all of our little beer steins here. So we've got scattered straw, mustard seed, wild honey, fossilized amber, and aged mahogany. So again, I thought that was pretty fun as a flight of beer for the beer lovers in our lives. So I have this craft piece of paper that is already cut and ready to go on our scored card. So I'm gonna get some adhesive on the back of the panel. Just using the tape runner from Scrapbook Adhesives. And then I'm going to bring in the secret weapon ruler so we can get a really nice 1/8 of an inch margin. So this ruler is from my sewing stash, and you can see that it really helps when you're trying to get an even margin. So I'm coming in 1/8 of an inch from the top here. I'm going to put my paper at that mark. I can see I'm 1/8 of an inch from each side, and I will pop that down. And it really allows you to make sure you're getting those even margins. You can press down with confidence on your project, and you're not going to have any issues with strange placements on things. So it really helps with that. So then I'm going to get all the little beer steins set up. If you've been following along in the videos, you would have seen my foam tape was getting pretty low. So I had another one that I had ordered from 2 scrapbook friends waiting in the wings for its debut. So this is the debut of the new adhesive roll. So enjoy. So I'm just gonna grab my scissors so that I can cut some pieces of foam tape to go behind each of the beer steins. We're gonna give them a little bit of dimension. So just get some pieces cut here that will go straight on the back. And I think I cut this one just a little bit too long. And we'll save that piece for later. If you did not have foam tape and you still wanted to add dimension to the beer steins or to any die cut images that you have, you could cut multiples. So you could use heavyweight cardstock and cut multiples, cut 3 of each of the images and then stack them on top of each other. That's a really great way to add dimension to your project if you're using intricate word dies where you don't want to cut 50 million pieces of foam tape and cut them in every configuration known to man. You can just cut a few of the same die cuts and stack them together using some spray adhesive or liquid glue or whatever you have on hand. So you don't necessarily always have to use foam tape to add dimension. So lots of different ways that you can do that with your projects. So just getting this last one with the foam tape, and we'll get the ginormous roll out of the way. So we've got all of our little beer steins set up here. And I'm going to bring back the ruler so that we can make sure everything is going to fit really nicely onto this card. So I'm just gonna wiggle things around here so that I can get some nice placement and try and get the beer steins fairly even across the card. So let's see how we do here. It's looking pretty good. Is everybody holding their breath to see if the last one will fit? Looks like I'm gonna have to overlap a little bit on the handles, but I think that is okay. All right, so that looks pretty good. Just gonna make sure this is set up evenly from the vertical standpoint here, and that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna start to take off the adhesive, or the, not the adhesive, the release tape on the foam tape. And as we're doing final placement on our cards, this is the quiet portion of the program where things get serious. Things are looking fairly good here, that they'll all fit across. And then the only thing we have left to do is to pop on our sentiment. Last one here. And actually, I'm gonna move a couple of these around. The foam tape, if you haven't pressed it down, can be a little forgiving. So, you know, if you're not quite sure if you want things where you want things, just don't push it down. Just lightly pop it down on your project, and then you can you give yourself some wiggle room. I quite often would put liquid glue on the back, and normally I do that, and honestly it just slipped my mind as I was working through, even though it's right here beside me. So okay, so there we go. We have our flight of beer, and I just think this is so fun for anyone who's been to beer tastings or anything like that. I think it's just a fun thing to get a card like this in the mail. So then we've got one of the banners cut out of craft cardstock, and then of course we already stamped our sentiment in white. So I'm just going to get a little bit of liquid glue onto the white banner. And then we'll get that set up into the middle of the card. Tweezers are great for sentiments like this because you've got quite a bit of glue on the back, so you don't want to get your fingers all in the way. And this allows you to both get some, so that you can see your project. That's the really nice thing about it. So I'm just gonna wiggle this a little bit so that I get it in the center. And again, these are the banner dies from the Gina K Designs Master Layout 3. A great set to have in your collection with squares, circles, and the banners. So I'm gonna put this right in the center. Bring in the ruler again to make sure we're gonna get that nice and straight. And I'm gonna put a little bit more of the liquid glue on the back of the craft banner. And this Lawn Fawn liquid glue, if you have not used it, very similar to the Gina K Designs liquid glue. And it's great because it dries clear. So if you get if any seeps out onto these glasses, it's nothing to get worried about. It will dry clear and no one will be the wiser. So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna get this in the center here. Center-ish. I think that's great. And just press this down. I'm just gonna bring in an acrylic block to push that down and let it set up. And there we have our finished card project for today. So a flight of beer, a flight of your favorite distress oxides ready to enjoy. So whether you just enjoy the craft side of things or the craft beer side of things, I think this is a really fun card, and there's lots of great sentiments in the Hoppy Days set, like Hoppy Birthday, and all kinds of really fun sentiments for some for dads, for retirements, and other occasions in your life. So a great set to check out, and with the matching dies as well as the inserts for the beer steins, it's a lot of fun to work with. So again, you could do any colors you wanted. You could do rainbow or anything like that, which could be a lot of fun. So again, I apologize that my printer is not working. So here's the old school version of the list of supplies that are used in this video. If you liked this video or learned something new, please give it a thumbs up. We would love to have you as a subscriber to the Two Scrapbook Friends YouTube channel. So please take a moment and subscribe. You'll get notified whenever we have new videos. And if you have any comments, please leave them below and we will be happy to respond. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.